I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Mother by Salem, what an amazing episode. We are back at the AfterBuzz TV after show for Motherland, Fort Salem, and we're talking episode 7, Mother by Salem. And I am your host, Kevin Allen. I'm going to break down what is an amazing episode, and I'm going to do it with an amazing crew. And that consists of Bryant Santos.
Hello, so excited to be here. I'm already #1 Abigail fan. Can't wait to talk all about this.
Story Weaver.
Hey guys, you know the Abigail stand is in the building, and I'm loving my girl even more with each episode. So let's get into it.
Gunnar Texera.
You know I love my witches, and you know I've become more and more of an Abigail fan every week, and I can't wait to break this episode down with our very special guest.
That's right. We have a very special guest, the newest comer to Fort Salem, and I mean both the fort and the show, Tony Giroux.
What's up, guys? It's good to be here.
It's so great to have you, man. Thank you so much for being here with us. Oh, great. Like I said, we're going to break down what I thought was an amazing episode. We're going to talk about the Bellwether unit, the renegades on the base, Scylla, the guilty enemy, spy, and General Alder, the boss witch, who was taken down by a little girl.
Little sister representing. That's right.
Yeah. So, guys, I keep saying, this episode had a lot to it, and I'm just really eager to dive in, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
Woo! I guess I'll go. Already said it, Abigail, absolutely loved it. In this one episode of just the connection between the two of them, I already felt it so much, and I absolutely loved it. I love how Adil just dropped Abigail's walls. Literally, she has been so sheltered and so bellwetherqueen.com, for so long, and literally meeting him, the little touch of the finger with the magical second realm. I was already here for it. So good. I know we're gonna dive really deep into that, so I can't wait to talk about that. But really, just like you mentioned, Kevin, such an amazing episode. I loved it so much, and I gotta give it to Scylla and Rael for that amazing epic scene. So heartfelt, so riveting, and a lot of emotions.
All right, Gunnar.
What can I say? Abigail wins me over episode after episode since the Bellwether wedding. I thought this was the first time we really see her be emotional, and the change she's felt since the Bellwether wedding, and watching her become emotional and openly expressive with Adil, and watching her be so comforting and caring to her unit mates was just absolutely incredible. So I'm so excited to talk about that, and Alder getting her butt kicked by a little princess from the far. Where is she from again? Actually, I don't remember. Oh my gosh, where is she from? Oh my gosh, I'm from
Alder?
No, you and your sister.
You and your
we're from Tarim Basin.
That's what it.
Which is northwestern China.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, where are they from? I forgot. But yeah, that was.
Or the Tarim sect. They call them the Tarim sect.
That's what it was, Tarim sect.
Honestly, Gunnar, between the kind of teleporting abilities that some people have shown, the geography is a little lost on me as well.
I don't think they have that anymore. I don't think they even have geography. Actually,
it's just one world now. Tori, you have been the Abigail fan from the beginning. So what do you think of her now, and what do you think of her new boo?
I love her even more.
I'm listening. So be careful what you say.
Okay. Okay. I love Abigail. I've loved her from the beginning. I'm loving this new side. I love how she's trying to open up. I see how she's fighting against her walls, because even when she was with Adil, you can kind of see the old Abigail creeping back in and stuff like that. But I like how she's trying to be open. Now, if this becomes a distraction, I'm not gonna like it. But for this episode, it was cute. And then also, I think I'm going to say something completely unexpected of me, but I have 1 ounce, not even an ounce, smaller than an ounce, of compassion maybe for Scylla. This much.
It's been said. I knew this was coming.
This much. But honestly, not a lot. Not enough to really make a dent, but I understood. I received it. You know what I mean? I acknowledge it, but it doesn't change my opinion about her. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, we're going to get into all of it, I promise you. But first, Tony, from my understanding that the cast got to watch the first 6 episodes, so this is the first one that wasn't really screened for you guys. Have you had a chance to see the episode?
Oh, actually, because of the COVID, we haven't really been there was no screening, and like the big screening
Ah.
in Texas got canceled, and so everybody's kind of just in touch over like social media. But it's
Mhm.
really cool to just to see how we all came together on screen, and we're just supporting each other through this time, and it's really cool to see us, yeah, to just see it on screen.
I love that. Like we can feel the familial bond you all have through the television screen. But
Mm.
have you seen the episode?
Yeah. I've seen
You have? Okay.
all the episodes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, great. Just as a viewer, if you can separate yourself, how did you find this episode?
Yeah, well, it's a lot happening, and it's like all the pieces are starting to come together, and it's really exciting. And I agree with like Tori too. It's cool to see like all the characters develop and like see them being tested in so many different ways. Abigail with like something that like a real romance, and yet them they're about to go into City Drop. Rael, her love's coming back into her life, so it's really exciting. And same for Tally. So I think all the characters are getting challenged, and Alder as well. With the appearance of Kalita. So it's like a lot of stuff is happening, and I find all the characters are getting put to the test, and it's really exciting to watch.
Oh, I found the most excitement with our bellwether unit. Like when they came walking back on the base, everyone's all whispers at them. They're rocking the open shirt look, just like they're not like dressed perfectly in uniform. They've got this strut about them. They
Hmm.
they know they're hot stuff, but they know that they're also breaking all the rules.
Hmm.
I call them the renegades on campus. So yeah, guys,
I agree.
uh, they come in and with uh, the first class, I guess what we call it, training session that we get to see them in, with a new colonel taking charge who does not mess around at
Love
all.
her. She's so fun.
Yeah, fun. She's fun.
She's like, well, pack. I'm like, yes,
Ryan, what is
girl.
your definition of fun?
Hello.
All right,
Fun, right?
I'm not gonna disagree with you, but that's just not the word I would use.
Me
But
neither.
so they get right to training, and this is Rael's specialty, fixing. And we've seen her do it before. We know she's a natural talent at it. But then when provoked and her methods being challenged, she kind of lets loose on everyone and really
Hmm.
shows off. Like it's not that she was actively trying to show off, but it can't be unnoticed at this point.
Yeah,
So what do you
definitely.
think of that sequence when like everyone was put to sleep?
I actually like that so much because, Rael's just been like, she's not been so meek. She definitely has been strong, but she hasn't really shown what she can truly do in magic. So I feel like with that, like she has so much potential. And I think we covered this before in the show that we think that she has this potential that she doesn't even know about. And obviously she doesn't. She doesn't know that she has these amazing powers that she can use, for her work. So that was amazing to see. And especially that girl tried to come for her. She like stepped up to her and she's like this, that, or the other. And Rael's just like, no, ma'am, thank you, next. And she just put them all to sleep. And it was amazing to see. I love that. And yeah, the colonel, she was a little fun, when she had to just go like this. And that girl was, gasping for air. But um,
I'll give
Me
you
and Jen
this.
are
that's
looking
another
for
I
the
show.
fun.
really I really enjoyed when like all the kids are passed out and she just walks up like, "Oh
Mhm.
yeah, no, I've seen that before,"
Yeah,
and
she's so
kind
fun.
of
She's like,
like
oh.
has a genuine like a really earnest discussion with Rael about her abilities and the value of it, and then kind of like, "I'm gonna have to reprimand you," wink, like that I loved.
Hmm.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh, she's the cool teacher.
Yes.
Mhm.
See, define cool because any teacher that's slicing my neck, we might not have the best relationship after. Honestly, when I saw that, I was like, you know what? I used to be so pressed to volunteer and, in class and be seen and get that extra credit. I'm glad I'm out of college because I would never. Like, I was like, okay, that's the first and last time I volunteer for anything because I did not see that coming. But when Rael put everybody to sleep, I was like, you know what? Everybody keeps poking this bear. Everybody keeps poking her.
Mhm.
Every episode, they keep trying her, and every time she, proves that like she's not one to be played with. I don't know. They're gonna be need something like more than being put to sleep to realize like you need to stop poking Rael because she's not the one or the two. and they keep trying her, and I don't
Mhm.
understand. And if Raelle won't handle it, here come Abigail ready to beat your behind. Here come
Yeah.
Tally ready to just yell in your face. I just don't. This is not a unit that you should mess with. And I feel like if we're in episode like what 7, 6,
Yep.
you should know
7.
that by now.
It's a magic number.
You should know that by now.
Mhm.
Yeah, like you should know not to mess with them. And so, I mean, I'm sure Abigail wasn't expecting to drop, but it was a lesson
I'll say
that
this.
needed to be taught.
Mhm.
When we came
And-
back from that break, I was. Oh no, go ahead.
I was just
Guys,
gonna want
sorry.
to add about like Rael's character. It's really dope to see, like, because she's a healer, and so you wouldn't expect, for her to be able to take down an entire class. And I find it really cool to see like the two sides of her powers. That it's not just always like healing and caring for others. She can also like really throw down.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She'll throw you down. Gunnar, you were gonna say
Yeah.
something.
No, I literally and watched this. I said, "Oh man, Tally didn't get picked. That's sad." And I said, "Oh my god."
Can you imagine?
My little only note was, "Well, thank goodness it wasn't Tally." And I said, "Oh," and Tori's comment, I was like, "Wow, I always was the one with his hand up first. Like, I'll volunteer. I'll be up in the front." I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is what I would get. I would be that volunteer." I actually would have probably just like ran up there, like, "I'll do it. I'll volunteer. Like, I want to learn as much as possible." Look at my next
And then
flip.
you gone.
But
I-
she was sweet about it
but
because
you
she was
brought-
like,
but-
take a breath after she slit her throat. She was like,
No,
"You
she
said,
said like,
I'm
"Oh,
glad.
would you like to go to the therapist? Would you like to go to the therapist? The therapist is on the second door to the left." I said, "Oh, thank you, because you just caused me so much trauma."
Like, ma'am, I'm unenrolling. Send me
I'm
home.
dropping out. I'm a what's the word? A Dodger. I'm a Dodger now. I'm out. I'm out.
Like,
But-
you want to catch your breath like we just ran track or something. You just slipped my.
Yeah, everyone's gonna do laps, so you can go sit out for a minute.
Yeah.
I've been noticing throughout the series how more off like each episode, more and more kids are raising their hand. Like when they first asked for a volunteer, it was like Abigail, who just
Mhm.
wanted to really show herself. Most of the other cadets didn't do that, and now like everyone was raising their hand, and I'm like, that's not gonna keep going that way. Everyone's gonna go
No.
back to being like, I'll let Bellwether do it first. So Tori, you mentioned that like people can't really poke the bear anymore because her whole unit's got her back, and I feel like this teacher has her back as well. I love seeing that people are now being very supportive of Raelle. She came with a chip on her shoulder, and she was really rough around the edges, but everyone. I'm not gonna say everyone has accepted her, but people understand her worth and respect her. And
Yeah.
her unit being so knit with her now is just awesome to see. So that's a joy for me now in this point in the series.
Yeah, and then really just seeing her like, sorry. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say, seeing the three girls just really come together and like look
Mhm.
out for each other. Got each other's backs,
Yeah.
and like that's such a good feeling. That I think we can all relate to. It's like when like some boys got your backs or girls got my back. I'm just like, yeah, you don't mess with
Yes.
us.
Honestly, and just seeing how all of them have handled pain and still pushed through that to perform in any of their courses, like none of them has skipped a beat so far. And they've all been through some traumatic things within this series, and literally no one has given up. No one has been late. Raelle used to be a case with showing up to class on time. But like everybody in the unit is really giving their all and pushing past their limits, even though they have every right to want to like take a day off or just kind of like not be on their A game. And we haven't seen them fall off yet. And I think that's just like admirable about this unit, how they're able to get past that and kind of leave their personal feelings at the door in order to get what needs to be done.
What did you think when Tally showed up? She's been there. When Garrett showed up in the presence of Tally. Yeah, Brian. No, whoever. Somebody jump in.
Gunnar, tell me what you thought, because I was like, I have a thought.
We all know I'm probably the biggest Craven wood shipper on this panel. I was very excited. I said, okay, I know this show, or I'm hopeful of the show. They cannot just make this whole thing fall apart, and it is supposed to be the bad relationship of this series. So they're gonna fix it. They're gonna fix it. And Tally, I loved how we talked about, I think 2 episodes ago with Tally, of how she's so ever present and so in her emotions and feelings that when something does go wrong, that she almost can't handle it. Like it's just like it breaks her even that much more tremendously. And I think we saw now the opposite of that coin, that when she wants to, she can just completely shut off her emotions and be like, "Hello, Garrett, it's nice to see you." But that didn't last long. And I'm very happy for that, because I need her to make sure she gets past all that. Well, not past it. She did get hurt and get those problems. And I need them to work through this, because they need to work out, because those two are my absolute favorite. And that is all.
Here's
Okay,
my
Brian.
thing.
Yes.
So Love her. I obviously strip Craven Wood so hard, but I am not comfortable with her being a side piece. And I feel like she's
Mm.
headed down that road because she is so strong. She is so powerful. So, like, she has so much to offer, and she should not relegate herself to being a side piece. And that's what I feel about this. Like, love me some Kai Bradbury, love Garrett Cravenwood, but this is Garrett Buttonwood and Cravenwood, but it's not it for her to be a side piece. If it ends in Garrett, like, leaving his wife and giving this amazing romantic gesture, like, yes, I'm here for it. But if he strings Tally along, continues to make her a side piece, I am not here for it.
That's a really good observation because I'm on Gunner's team and that like I want
Mhm.
to see them together.
Yeah.
And like the contract hasn't begun yet, so he's not.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I mean, I don't know how monogamy and cheating and all that stuff works in this universe, but he's not like breaking contract by making out with her before he officially gets married. And it's a 5-year thing.
But he's
anyway. It's not like-
engaged. He is
Yes,
engaged, Kevin Allen.
but it's a contract. It's not. He's
No, love
it's not
is
an
This
emo-
is a contract.
it's a marriage contract and it's their binding ritual, whatever it is. I still get so lost with marriages and relations.
But that's the thing, it's binding for 5 years. It's not. It's arranged, and it's a military thing. Or
It's
am I
arranged
off on
marriages.
this?
Back in the day, it still counted, and it's not. No, it's not military. It is still, I think, for the most part, love. It's just also like a business thing. It's also a matter of like, okay, like we're not gonna let make you guys be tied down too long. It's only 5
Tony,
years. You can do what you
all
want
right,
after
Tony,
that. But
Tony, you live there. You
True.
live in this world. You have any insight on this, or am I way out of line?
I know. To be honest, I don't know about like that aspect specifically, but what the binding is, if it's like love or like you guys talking business or military, that I'm genuinely don't know. So that
Okay,
I
all right.
can't.
Well, let me pose this at you then. So you're just walking into the base. You're a civilian on company. You're trying to figure out the cereal machine, and this girl walks up to you. And granted, Abigail could be a bit of a flirt, but this one seems a little warmer than usual.
Yes,
The
queen.
chemistry was like immediate. So
Mhm.
what
I was
what
like,
was
give me some
going?
frosted flakes.
Yeah, what was going through Adele's mind there?
And yeah, well, it's and like where at Dillstrom, it's like a small sect in like the desert. We don't.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, like everybody mates, but you don't get. First of all, he's on a campus full of women, and he's just like, "Whoa, what's going on? The cereal machine. What? Like, how do you work this?" Like, very overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And yeah, and she comes in and like strong presence and got like her cute look, and so she pulls you in quick. You try to avoid it a little
Yes.
bit, but it's like, when it's like right there at your door, you can't do much.
I don't blame you.
Mhm.
I mean, as a viewer, I saw it. I felt it. Uh, Abigail's always been kind of like, I don't want to say promiscuous, but she's been very flirtatious and open about having flirty relationships with other guys.
Mhm.
I feel like the whole team's dynamic has completely changed, or at least the dynamic between the men and the women just feels different.
Mhm.
And I feel like I'm saying that mostly because of the Ada Gale thing. Something about it seems way more genuine. She seems like genuinely interested in you as a person,
Mhm.
not just as a
Mhm.
makeup piece or a 10-minute moment.
Mhm.
Power
Yeah.
charge,
Yeah.
And
power
you guys
trip.
spent a lot, like the characters spend a lot of time in each other's presence. They, you want me to stay with you? No, it's going to take a while. Come find me. Like they're
Mhm.
they're bouncing
Mhm.
around the campus a lot.
And they've gone
Yeah.
through a lot. I mean, in terms of, yeah, I mean, it's interesting because they're seeing each other, or she's seeing him in a difficult position, but then also, so that brings to like that emotional connection. But then also, when they're walking and like as the deal, I'm not afraid to call her out. And I
Mhm.
think
Yeah.
whenever someone's like really proud and or really grounded in what they believe, and someone challenges that, sometimes that can be really exciting. As
Yeah.
opposed to people just submitting to you and being like, yeah, okay, whatever you say is the law or whatnot, or is an absolute. And Adele's like, yo, what you do, what you take pride in, like it messes people's lives.
Yeah.
I was
Very much so.
so relieved Adele said half the things he said to her. Like I
Mhm.
wrote down a note and then I would scratch it off. I was like, okay, good. He told her.
Yeah.
He would say
I have
stuff about, yeah, go ahead, Brian.
I have two things on that. So one, shout out to the chat. Hannah A has an amazing point. She said, I think Abigail loves that Adele doesn't seem to know who she is and what her last name means, which is so interesting because Abigail is so used to everybody, like, you know, like you said, kind of like submitting to her or having to you know, listen to her last name as a bellwether. But he's so new and he's so different and he's so like mysterious that she's probably so involved. And my second thing is she is obviously into you because she dropped all her hoes for you, like right there and then, you know. So that's what I think on that. So I was like, here for it.
That's a really good point you made because all training session, everyone kept mentioning like, oh, the bellwethers get away with whatever they want. Oh, it must be nice to part of the bellwether unit, have them back you up. And I mean, Abigail backs up her name because she says to tree fine or whatever that was like backup. But she does really appreciate that. And I was worried that this was almost a bit of a rebound from the pain she felt in the wedding. I thought it was more just like, okay, it's a comfort thing, but you kept seeing the challenge that Adil's character gave to her and how much she kept trying to find you. It wasn't just a momentary thing. And I was like, okay. And also how much in the words of Brian, dropped her side hose for you so very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like Brian said earlier about you don't want Tally to be in nobody's side person. I think as Adele, you know, I relate to that. You know, I don't want to be nobody's like second or third.
Yes.
So I want to shout out to your lines and your delivery of those lines when she was talking about like I was like, Abby, crushing enemies isn't hot. Like that's not an attractive thing. And there was something like, yeah, and there was like about the arrogance, and you were like, you're one to talk. God, that made me that was cathartic for me because the stuff she was saying, it was like, do you have any idea how you sound right now? And Adele became easily my new favorite character when he was like, no, you can't have that perspective, and let me tell you why. And so I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Oh, cool. I agree. And I think a lot of times, and you know, it's like when love comes into your life, it'll really challenge you and like challenge your thoughts. And like you were saying, like beforehand, because of her name, nobody's calling her out, you know, also for her perspective, or also if the war, you know, joining in the army is it 100% good, you know, for the world? But then Adele's like, no, it's not. And like, look at it from my perspective. And she's, you know, and I think that's what love does. You know, if it was some like random guy, she would be like, okay, whatever. But when there's that special connection, it's like, damn, I got to consider this person's perspective as well.
Yeah, and it wasn't even just the big concepts of like war and violence that you said, or Dill said, like these spells you guys do, like it messes with the weather and thus the crops, and like there's consequences to actions. Like this isn't in a vacuum. And as a fan of the world building of this series, that's something that I was like, oh my God, I'm ashamed I didn't think of that.
Yeah, that was
so the whole team gets together to help Adil and his sister with her ailment. Abigail runs back to the base and opens with, hey, you're reckless and dangerous, rather than we need your special gifts. Like, it's like, this isn't, I mean, not, again, you're picking the wrong words, Abigail, to get your point across. But so they recruit Rael, and Tony displays his magical ability sorry, it's Tony.
Yeah.
Adil displays his ability of like being invisible or moving through time. Like what is that?
It's it's invisibility. I don't know if you remember at the beginning of episode 6 as well. That's how Adil is introduced, and that's so he's got the power to be invisible and then also make others around him who he's in contact with to be invisible. So hence that Sorry?
Episode 6, I totally missed that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I did not see it.
The introduction of when he comes in, he's carrying his sister, and they're both invisible, and they both appear. And then also in that last episode, when he carries her, and then also, you know, when he kisses Abigail.
No, by that point, I figured it out.
Okay,
more or less. I was like, yeah, no one can see him. Like, because Tally was able to see him, and that line of like, how did you see me? Like, I
thought she was able to like sense him. Because
Yes.
even though he was invisible, like they were in the grass, and I think she saw the
Mhm.
grass moving, and like you can kind of see, okay, this is giving me footprint vibes on the ground. What is this? And I didn't really know if she could see him, but more so like just kind of pay attention to her surroundings and just say like something is moving and I can't see it.
See, I think it was a matter of, because we learned that I think Tally's the one that we most definitely do not know the potential of her powers and what's to come with hers. I feel like Abigail is the natural born and the like gifted. Raelle, no shows, she's never had a chance to show off and train. And Tally is the one who like has no kind of clue, just like I'm a witch, but I don't really know what that means when that's possible of. And I think she has a lot of sight-based abilities and seeing beyond just what the eyeballs see and what we see on this plane. I think she can even like see the magic itself.
You actually brought up
Okay,
something
Gunner.
because
Oh,
in
boom.
one of the other
Yes!
episodes, the Beltane episode, like when the guys first came, they were doing that like sight course thing, and it was like she was able to do it so well because like of all the male energy. And right before she goes to help, didn't she like just hook up with Garrett right before that? So she was probably like 10, right?
Oh,
So you just gave me something to put
Goodbye,
together.
meeting.
'Cause I wasn't thinking that.
Yeah. Oh, Raelle, Tally got a power charge, just like Abigail did back in the
You
wedding.
got a little
She
quick
pops,
fix.
literally.
Yeah, I think you guys figured it out. Like we can skip predictions. Like you cracked the code here.
All right, thanks, guys. See you
Breaking
next
news.
week.
A
News,
potential.
Motherland fans. We figured it
Potential.
out. Yeah, right. Good job, Tony. Potentially. All right.
Yeah.
But let's focus on Raelle's power. She is a healer. She has this different method about it, the Christo-pagan thing, which I think is super cool that there are different sects of magic. There's different biases and forms of witchcraft. That's just really interesting to me. And it proves to be the most effective. And I wasn't surprised by this because I thought the ailment that Kalita had looked super demonic.
It was
What'd you
scary.
guys think?
Yeah, it just looked wrong. It was making me nervous, and it still makes me nervous. Like it obviously looked like some sort of illness. Like they got that down pack. It looked real scary. She might not make it. But I was really nervous when Raelle was going to heal her because I knew from previous episodes that she takes on whatever it is in some form. Like even before she said it, I knew that was true because of previous episodes. And when it didn't like go to her, I said, "Oh, girl!" I thought it went into the ground. And I was like, "Okay, the ground is connected to Alder, so is she gonna drop dead?" Okay, I was
That's a very
it was
good
all
point.
over the place because it went the opposite way. It did not go to Raelle. It
They
went
said that
outside.
question like, "Where did it go?" And I'm like, "You guys need to
Yes.
figure that out."
It's
And I
back
said, "This is
inside
what
her.
happens when you don't follow
That's-
instructions."
That's why you don't follow through. No, see, that was my biggest thing because I got really offended and very like I felt very attacked when Treefin or whatever her name was like called out that like Christian pagan comment. I said, do not disrespect Raelle's religion or whatever her beliefs are, because I thought that was a very interesting aspect to add in witchcraft and Christianity and or any kind of like religion and this into the add that mix and just like show that diversification of like viewpoints. And then also proving it's stronger than whatever you're doing. So you just got put to sleep, ma'am. Bye. And it got rid of that demon webbing thing. But thank you, Tori, because I said it went in the ground. Y'all, where'd it go? And I'm thinking my theory right now is that it's some kind of like creature and it's set free. It was supposed to be in a person and now it's set free. And we gotta go find that thing because nobody followed through.
I thought it went back inside her because she still acted weird. So I thought like instead of like on being her outside of her body, like it was kind of more surface level. Now it's like really like 1,000,000% inside of her and she's like gone. So I was like scared for that. Real quick though, I just want to shout out the chat again because Ivan has a great question for Tony about just this little scene. So he wants to know what it was like working with Kalita, your little sister, and just the whole dynamic between the two of you.
Oh, yeah, Kalita, so her name's Kylie, but working with Kalita was amazing. And right from day one, like we really clicked, and I'm really excited actually to share, what comes in the rest of the series. And like I really felt like she was my little sister on so many aspects. And like in between takes, we'd like play and we'd talk. And she's a fantastic actress and so generous and so open. So it was she's a little gem for sure.
Love her.
Well, I feel a little differently, only because as the show continued, like every scene with her, she was really weirding me out. She, in
Mm-hmm.
my opinion, didn't behave like a
Mm,
little girl. And
mm.
the way that she talked to people, the language she used, her tone
Mm.
I was like, is she possessed?
S-
And
But
Probably.
then she
I
has this one-on-one with Alder. So yeah, Gunner,
mm,
what'd you feel?
I see. I don't remember. Was it when we were interviewing Kai, or was I don't remember. I saw something after the storm topic about the uh Hague meeting the panel, the other world leaders, discussing how one of them was supposed to be a younger, like childlike, because of the different ages they appear and since.
Mm.
And I think that Adele and his sister, either the sister is a little bit more older than she seems, and it's kind of like a Dumbledore thing, like, oh, I'm like 3,000 years old, like, and she is, oh, I'm like 47, but I look like I'm 12 type
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
Or she
Shadowhunters.
possessed, or she's possessed, or she's possessed, whatever it is. One of the two,
I mean, she's very
for
powerful,
sure.
and
Yes.
it's one thing to have the maturity in her language and demeanor, but the power that it was exuding from her in the scene where she's making all the crop sties, she's taking out Alder and all her biddies at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
like that shows life experience.
Hmm.
So you might be onto something there. Brian, did you have a different perspective on that?
No, I do think that she creeped me out too. She's
Okay.
obviously an amazingly talented actress because she was
Yeah.
scaring me. Of course, the chat is screaming about the little mushroom wall. We have to talk about that, of course, that
Mhm.
big thing where the black went inside. So I'm sure we're gonna get to that because that was very scary, and that's probably where it all went. And maybe Tori, you're right, and Alder's
Oh
gonna be dead
right.
next episode.
Yeah, I mean, they cut off that
I.
mushroom and found black goo inside and the black goo outside of it.
Ooh.
I was not gonna bring it up because I don't understand it like
Same.
at all. But if you
Yeah,
guys have theories, I would love to hear it. And so
I
would the
have
chat.
like a
And we love our
couple.
fans. So
Hmm.
I have like a couple because this
please,
is
Tori.
like a lot going on. So Gunner, I do agree she might be like a older leader in like a younger body or whatever, however that stuff works. And then I was thinking maybe because I mean, growing up can come with age, but growing up can also come with like life experiences. And I was thinking that maybe she's just so mature because she's had to like experience a lot of life. I mean, we clearly see that they have a different perspective on the world than the people at Fort Salem. So maybe they've just seen like, you know, just like famine and just things not going well based off these things. And maybe she's just like, listen, I might be 12, but I've seen a lot. Okay. And so I'm thinking maybe they're there to like weaken Alder. Like that's their plan the whole time is to come seeking help, but to also like weaken this army because they're ruining the rest of the world even though they're trying their best. I believe they're trying their best, but like Adele said, it has its consequences. And I think like we haven't really been able to see Alder really waver her beliefs in any of these episodes. No matter who comes to her, she's just kind of like, well, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it. But I think she met her match with the younger sister, and maybe she's the person that's going to get her to realize like you can still try to save the world or whatever, but you need to realize the effects that it has on other people. Like the world does not just revolve around you or America, even though, you know, in the real world, we see that people think that it does as well. So I think that's the feel. And it's like, it sucks because I don't trust Alder. I never have. But at the same time, we know that she's connected to the base in some sort of way. Like when things happen to her, the nature start, you know, getting old too. So I was thinking maybe because, you know, the little sister had gotten to her and weakened her a little bit, that now like the earth around them is going to start deteriorating. So it's like, I don't really want her around. But at the same time, if she's not around, we don't have nowhere to stay.
That's a really good point because yeah,
Hmm.
they have
Mhm.
demonstrated that before, and that's probably what we're seeing now. You have brought up a really cool theory about Adil and Khalida being older people who are kind of they both have a lot more life experience and are just fading their age and have brought into we get older. But I was watching Tony's face through the entirety of your theory, and he didn't give me any clues. Tony,
I know.
Oh,
He's
you.
like,
any
girl, that's
thoughts on
wrong.
that? Or
Well, I think you. I mean, what I could say is,
you don't
without.
have to say.
No, 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 no. But it's
No,
really
say,
interesting
say.
to like hear these perspectives, but then also to consider, you know, like if they're from Tarim sect, which is, you know, like eastern northwestern China. The idea of like culturally, they're also very different. You know, like even
Mhm.
if you consider, I don't know if you know much about Eastern philosophies or Eastern cultures. You know, like Buddhism or all these aspects. And you know, when like the young Buddha came and like, this idea of the concept of
Reincarnation.
reincarnation or resurrect. Yeah,
Yeah,
reincarnation. I was gonna say resurrection, but that's a different thing.
that's more Western.
Um,
Yeah.
these things also to consider that culturally that they don't necessarily operate the same as we do in the Western world.
And we did hear from one of your castmates that there are different varieties or tactics with magic. So I shouldn't be surprised to hear there are different philosophies and like sources of power and stuff. This is
Mhm.
awesome.
Love
Definitely.
If you want to
it.
keep elaborating, I'm all about this stuff.
Please do.
I mean, I don't want to say too much,
Okay.
but yeah, I think in that realm, or at least for myself, because what you'll see is what you'll see, but then also like personally as the character and like my thoughts on it and what I wanted to bring to the table is this idea of also that life experience comes differently also culturally, and this idea of like when you're really in touch with nature, and your life is directly connected to it, like for me, Adil and Khalida, it's a very different approach to aging and to what you would even consider life experience.
Okay, I love that. Man, you got me so excited for the episodes to come. And we do know that there are differing perspectives than Alder and the U.S. military, not only because the Witch Father shows up and tells her like, "Hey, there are people who kind of want to disband the army and take power away from us," but also because they're interrogating Scylla, who is free, and she's spitting out their ideology back at her. So let's get to the topic we've all been kind of dancing around. Is some
I was
very
ready, willing, and
powerful
able.
interrogation. Like they were trying to break her apart, mind, body, and soul from the beginning. They were trying to shatter her sense of reality to throw her off her game, and then it just kept going until the point where they kidnap Rael just to dangle her in front of Scylla, and that's what breaks her finally.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Ooh, okay,
Brian,
I'm about to
no,
pop off.
dish, man. I know you want
Come
to.
on,
Okay.
Brian.
When she was eating the glass, yes, girl. Also, when
What do you
I
mean,
gotta shout
yes,
out my
girl?
girl Anna. I gotta shout out my girl Anna Costa. I was coming for her, but I am 9 million, whatever percent on board with her. The fact that she literally used Rael as that bait to get into her head, to make her so vulnerable that she would open up her brain and her mind like that, I was like, yes, queen, where would Alder be without you? Because she literally ended her and everything she had. So I loved it. Anna Kasha, shout out to you, girl. She is going to lead the military. Hopefully in the episode 10, my prediction is going to be that she kills Alder and she's a new queen of the military. There we go.
Oh,
I no. Okay, I was so worried for that opinion, but thank you, Brian. Anacostia has my heart, baddest of them all, because when that's the enemy in there, and you have a chance to break them, and whatever kind of mind powers Anacostia has, you have to use those advantages. You've got to pull at them, and that's where I might come off a little bit bad here, but like you got to break them to find out the information you need, because this is war and this is the enemy, and they're hurting your own and you're hurting your people. And if you have a chance to protect them, you got to like toe at that line as far as possible. And I think using Rael, using the glass, like make them question, break them. You have to like get the information you need, because Scylla is a diehard. She is a loyalist, and she wasn't gonna crack just because out of questioning.
well, she's not a diehard, and she's not the most loyalist because she Anacostia sensed a bit of guilt in her as well.
A bit. Come on, let's not.
I know. Don't give her too much credit.
Tori, were you the one that was like, you got an ounce of compassion? Hold up.
Now, I'm not
Tony, call her out.
No. She's still. I know the comments are going to rip us apart because they think that I hate Scylla, and you're right, I do. But
goodbye.
I just like I have a little bit of compassion, or not even compassion, just acknowledgement, because Anacostia did reveal the fact that she had a little bit of doubt or regret or whatever, and that's fine. You should have had regret when you stepped foot on this campus, but whatever. But I just still feel like it's warranted. I still feel like the interrogation is warranted. Like I'm not about to sit here and be blinded by love and ignore the fact that she has been killing hella people since this whole series started. Like you fall in love with one little girl and you think we just supposed to forgive and forget, honey. That does not work that way. So I was here for it. I was like, yes, break her. I did feel bad for Rael because throughout this whole episode, it really looked like she didn't get any sleep. Like shout out to the makeup artist because they really committed to that look. Like she looked tired. Like I felt bad for this fictional character because I was like, she is just going through it. And so she's already dealing with that. And then like, although I liked that they were breaking her, it was kind of sad because like that's traumatizing to Raelle. Like she doesn't know if it's real. She's throwing up the next morning. Anacostia acting like she don't have a clue about what happened, even though she was just with her 2 hours ago. Like that, Raelle was going through enough. So it was like sad to see that she had to be used in that process to break Scylla. Because I really don't have no beef with Raelle at this point. My beef is with Scylla. So we can torture with her. But it was just like, dang. I guess, a little collateral damage, but I really didn't want to see Raelle get hurt. I really didn't.
I would just like to remind our fans and Amalia that we think she's a wonderful person.
You are
really
great,
appreciated her coming on.
Yes,
last
you are great. I'm speaking on the character. I'm speaking on the character. That's all.
I know.
I love Amalia. She's so sweet, but the character. No, we have beef.
Got to go.
Yeah.
So one thing I took away from the mind meld, the flashbacks, is we don't really get anything about why Scylla is there, what made her want to join the spree, and like what her involvement was before and really even during. We just see her take the balloon that was handed to her, get in the car, and go do that one mission. We don't know how integral she has been after, and I don't really know what she's like before. I was actually amazed. So this is Prophecy Anacostia that she got a clue from out of all that, because I felt like aside from knowing that yes, she is free, we didn't get much.
Sure.
But
That's very true.
But we'll see what the coming episodes happen. Real quick, we only have a little bit of time, and Tony, we appreciate your time so very, very much. And we want to get into a quick Q&A with you, if that's totally fine.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Gunnar, do you have a question for Mr. Tony?
Yeah, Tony, I know, especially with your powers, being this invisibility and like going to like this other space with Abigail, what was the like practice and training that went into like, because obviously you didn't just go into this orange little bubble thing. So like, how did they prep you for what it was going to look like, and how did you prepare to like act like you're in this like almost like separate world and invisible to the rest of the world?
Oh, so you asking me kind of as an actor then?
Yeah, with the effects and everything.
Okay, yeah. Well, because when you're acting, you're there in front of a big green screen. And aside from the script that's describing kind of what's going on, it's a lot of it has to be your own imagination. And because we didn't do that much discussing of what it was gonna look like. They just said, okay, you're surrounded. And it was actually originally, I think it was going to be a little bit different. What is it, that thing that you look through and it's like a
kaleidoscope?
Yeah, kaleidoscope.
Kaleidoscope. I think originally I thought it was going to be more like that, but in my mind it was just, this is like my special bubble, and like that's how I connected to it. This idea of like, this is my world, and this is like a really intimate part of who I am. These powers that we use as protection, or not in the same way that they do in Fort Salem. And so for myself, it was imagining it's like bringing someone home in a way, or showing part of you that can be like really vulnerable. So that's that's that.
Thank you.
Bryant, any questions from the fans?
Yes, actually. So one fan wants to know, Ivan, shout out to Ivan, what it's like playing a male witch. From an acting perspective, they hardly have male witches on television. So what it's like playing that character, and how did you kind of get into that mindset?
Thanks for the question, Ivan and Bryant. Well, first of all, and playing it, especially in this show, which is like a matriarchy, it's really, really interesting. And to first of all also look at like, what are the different uses of witchcraft? And because in Motherland, in Fort Salem, they use it a specific way. Then me being a male witch from the Turim sect, how is it that we use it? And so I dove into a lot of research too on like, what would be like actual witchcraft. And then also I looked at like energetic power, like Qigong and Tai Chi, and like what is it that these Eastern practices do? And I got into, once you start opening a book, you go into like an encyclopedia of like real supernatural things, which is like mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Things that I could get into, another time, but it's also like what is a sixth sense? I dove pretty hard into this thing called morphic fields, which there's this one biologist who dove into what these animals have and like how they're connected, all connected through these fields, and how they can actually have a sixth sense of sensing like when someone is like, like a mile away,
Oh,
but in pain. And so for me, it was connecting a lot of like mixing what we know as humans and going into a lot of different avenues of magic or superpowers.
love that. Thank you. I also just want to know, is Abigail forever? Because I'm here for it and I want to see more.
Fingers crossed. We'll see what happens.
Yes.
Well, before you dish any spoilers, we are unfortunately out of time. Tony, I could chat with you all night about this stuff. This is some amazing ideas that you're bringing into this universe, and I love it. I love your approach to your character. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And if our fans want to keep in touch with you or ask more questions, because again, we could talk all night about this cool stuff, where can they find you online?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter and Instagram. My handle is TKGIROUX. So that's TK Giroux. Send me any questions you have. I'd be happy to answer them, or just to hear what you think of the show.
Yeah. Bryant, where can the fans find you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok at the Brian Santos, and on AfterBuzz TV's Quarantine with the Stars.
Awesome. Tori.
You already know the drill. You guys can find me on Instagram at Toxic Model or on Twitter at Tori with 2 E's. And also check out some of our amazing articles that are on the AfterBuzz Black Hollywood Live sites. We have some great things over there, so definitely check those out.
I check in every week just in case you do change the handle, because Gunnar did. Gunnar, what are your new handles?
That is true. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at the Gunnar Thomas. I also have a couple few articles with our past stars like Jessica Sutton and Taylor Hickson. And you also can catch me on the Avatar: The Last Airbender after show every Monday.
Really?
Right?
I'll have to look at that.
We've been talking about Eastern philosophies and magic all night. I'm just down for that. I'm Kevin Allen. You guys can find me on Twitter at Kevin Allen Says, Instagram at Kevin Allen Graham, and we will talk next week. Until then, have a great night.
Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.